Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is episode 55 of Keeping It Local, Easton Be Awesome podcast, showcasing the amazing people in my community of Easton, Massachusetts. This is a great one for me because I have a long history with my guest here. The backstory going back to the early 90s, actually, probably 1992, I guess. My dad wanted to start a business towards the tail end of his career that he could do two things: smoke cigars and interact with people. And so what he did was he decided to start a spring water delivery business from scratch. Went and got a van from a Hertz or one of the rental companies down at Providence Airport. Got an agreement with a water distributor or water manufacturer out in Western Massachusetts, and he started just picking up bottles. Didn't think it completely through, and realized he needed a warehouse space. And lo and behold, driving around town, he came across a company by the name at the time was Willwork Exhibit Services that had a warehouse, and they had some extra space. And he went in and he talked to the owner, Billy Nixon, and they worked on an agreement that we could have some of the space to put some of our bottles. And over the next 6 years, we had a wonderful relationship. Willwork and Mr. Nixon and his entire team have always just been lights out fantastic to my father and I. And during that, I actually got introduced and got an opportunity to work at Willwork, which is which at the time was just installing and dismantling trade show booths, which is a lot of work and it's labor intensive, but it was a great opportunity, and I learned a lot. And so over the last 28 years since, I've watched this company grow, and now it's known as Willwork. It's Willwork Global, sir. Is it Willwork Global, correct?
Willwork Global Services, yes.
Willwork Global Services. So, Mr. Nixon, welcome aboard. As far as a town family goes, it doesn't get any more Easton than this. The high school gymnasium is actually named after your father, who shares the same name. So you are tied into Easton real tight. But tell us a little bit about Willwork Global Services, because you spread your business from just the Boston area to all over the place. So give us a little history of that.
Well, we started in 1987. I was loading beer trucks, and I knew my back wasn't going to hold out. So we got the opportunity because of the way things were in Boston back in the 80s, and they made movies out of it.
Mm-hmm.
People couldn't procure any labor. Being in the union and a union steward, they brought it to me because there was a big disparity between the Boston Union Teamsters and the local I was in the suburbs, Brockton Union.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to me to see if I could procure labor. And I told them, after going in there a couple of times, that was early, and we get to go into the big city. And we were young kids, and I'm like, yeah, geez, $15 an hour we're going to get paid. It was like all the money in the world. I think minimum wage was probably about $4 or $5 an hour at the time.
Yep.
And all I had to do was hire a lot of my friends who were out of work. So I was like, yeah. So I started being able to procure the labor, and it grew from there. The convention center was thank goodness, being remodeled, and they used the parking garage at the Sheraton Hotel, a small space. So the conventions were small. So when they were asking for the labor, they only asked for like 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah.
And the guys from South Boston wouldn't work for the gentleman I worked for, Champion Exposition Services, because they didn't like him. So he had to come to the suburbs to get his labor and procure it. So that's how we originally got started. And if it was the convention center was open, I don't think we wouldn't have been able to get the 50 to 100 guys. So it gave me like 18 months running to figure out what we had here. So we saw an opportunity and we struck.
Yeah. Minimum wage in 1992 was $4.75. The first time that I worked a trade show, I think, for it was 1992 or 93 with the likes of Mike Haynes and Ryan Cass and a couple other guys. So you started there, you grew it, you had some great team members. Like I say, had Mike and Ryan starting. I mean, you've got some folks over there like Kurt, if you listen to the creator of the safety glasses, he's been an employee there for 20 plus years. You've got a lot of long time team members that have been with you almost from the start. How did you do that? And how big are you now? How many folks do you have that are a part of your team now, collectively?
Well, as the industry grew from the 80s and technology came in, we ramped up. As the industry grew, we saw the technology, and then we saw it transform into a lot of AV rental instead of just all the big walls and things of that nature. So we got into the AV side of it. And the reason I bring that up at this point in time is, what's going on with the virus. We're in the event space, so it was one of the very first space. That's an airlines got walloped right away. And now we've been filling out those SBA loans, and it's morphed into 4 or 5 companies. So we've been doing an employee count, and we don't qualify under Willwork because we had 1,263 employees last year. Wow. So if it's over 500. So all the other companies are under the 500 mark. And when we put it all together, we're just a hair under 2,000 employees with all the companies together. It's really like one big organization, different companies, but we look at it as one big organization. They're all standalone companies. One is a labor company that does teamwork, supermarket installs, like we're doing right now in the supermarkets, and the plexi up for the virus. We'll do anything that requires labor. And then we have an app company for meeting spaces. That's Jay Cass. Like you said, you started with his brother Ryan, and now Jay is a partner of ours. And one way we did it, we made everybody we had some great lucky recruiting going on, and we had the longevity here. Yeah. But in all the different divisions, we made the key people partners, Josh. So like Kurt's a partner in the company.
Yep.
And Dave King, Dave's my partner. Jay Cass is a partner, and Dave McCormick on the AV side's a partner.
Yeah.
So that's one way is to do it. So
let's talk about this, because you mentioned about the trade show space. It got hit. As a matter of fact, I just read a report this morning. $2.5 trillion is the trade show convention impact. That's what is spent, invested, and utilized for money in a year, and that's a lot of money. And you were coming into this year, and only because I know you and I talked to some folks, you were coming in this year to potentially have a breakout, just absolute best year ever, with great growth and a lot of new accounts and things like that happening at the start of the year. And then all of a sudden, coronavirus hits, and the wheels fall off the rails for trade shows, and literally the world stops overnight, right? Literally just halts everything. I can't imagine what that was like, because 2,000 employees. When I started with you, your dad would be at the office on Saturdays distributing paychecks, and there weren't a lot of them to distribute, but that's how people got paid. And now you're talking about 2,000 employees, multiple offices, everything hits overnight. What do you do? What's your next move? What's your thought on all of that?
When you were there, you saw when I was young doing it, and I would throw my beepers. At the time, they'd be beepers. I would throw them, little immature, and the anxieties would get me, and I became known for that. And now if I get too wound up like that, I'm going to have a heart attack, and I get too tired. I have to go home and take a nap.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to all the people around you. It's actually ends up being a violent scene. When I was 23 years old, everybody else was 23 years old. Wasn't a big deal. Growing to that size company, obviously you have to really change a lot of your behavior. I worked really hard on that aspect of not losing it. But after going through 9/11 and going through 2008, it's like, okay, deep breath. And you have a lot of people that are counting on you, and there was a lot of families counting on you. So it's funny. I thought I was great. I went 4 weeks. I'm like, I'm a pro at this. I was smiling. I was doing everything you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then last week it hit me. It was like a delayed reaction. The shock of it at first was a delayed reaction. I had a real bad day, meaning, I was yelling at people, the old Billy Nixon, except
Yep.
I'm not that animated like I used to be, came out, and I knew to get out of the office. And I said, "Oh, you're having one of those days." It hit me 4 weeks after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to limit it, go home, sleep it off, and come back. But, we're a pro. We've been to an awful lot in 33 years. We've seen a lot. And so many people rely on us that I've got to figure out how we're going to keep the doors open, how we're going to get a lot. We had to lay off. We're down to 45 people. And our monthly cost was, I'll throw numbers out, was like $1.7 million a month. It's down to the minutes. So you hemorrhage cash instantly.
Yeah.
So in 2008, we went literally from 27,000 in 1987 to $40 million in business. And that's just a straight up arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And you start believing your own press. All you did was hire. You got to give you bonuses, Christmas parties. You really think you're it, and it's all you. And then what the financial collapse in 2008 hit was a really bad time because I had to let people go, and I've never experienced that before. And I didn't know how to do it. I was in shock.
Mm-hmm.
And we were hemorrhaging cash. I waited 6-7 months. And then I realized if I wait another month or two, no one will have a job. And I had to let people go when I should have let them go right away.
Right.
And this time around, once I knew a virus, you knew what was coming because we've seen so much from 9/11 to now. I knew I had to react quick, and I still didn't react at that burn rate of cash for a small company. I still took 2 weeks, and we went to every person, and we looked at them 1,000 times in their situations, and it sounds bad, and what we can do, and who's working on a project. And we know we kept people at work. We still have them. They're working on projects. We know what we just lost today, right before this call, a $1.5 million job for Amazon, who we landed at the beginning of the year in the Javits Center.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
we knew we were going to lose it. The Javits Center is a hospital right now, and
Right.
it's probably going to be a hospital in June.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we were going to lose that business, but it still hurts when the call comes in and
Yeah.
we can't do it.
Yeah.
So we reacted quick, like you said, me and Kurt, morning, noon, and night, and it truly was really tough
Mm-hmm.
to let the guys go. We then said, Kurt's like, hey, we're probably going to go out of business, and how big are we going to be? And we're still burning cash. And I said, Kurt, I can't sleep. It's been a week. We let these people go. And in Massachusetts, Josh, people get 825. We pay well. So they get maximum, plus they have children. And now today, that's $600, thank God, is hitting the payroll runs for people.
Right.
But we have some of the greatest people. I mean, they are just incredible. And they can do things that I listen to a lot of your podcasts, you know what I mean? And you're very humble. But my team can go 30 hours in a row, 40 hours in a row, go home and sleep for 3 hours and get up and work. And I try to be a good leader and do it. And I'm a disaster after 18 hours. And these guys, and I was when I was young too. These guys will do it. They're strong. And a lot of them come out of Orlando, and they get to collect $275 a week. And any income they earn, it gets deducted.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, they get a day. You get to give everyone a day pay. So everyone we let go in Mass, we also get to give them a day's pay, which is a big help. Now they're getting the 600. Some of these guys are probably going to make more and not want to come back, but they'll come back because it's become a family here.
Yeah.
So I came in, I says, Kurt, I can't do it. He says, what? I says, Kurt, I've been thinking about this for a week, and this is before the government ever mentioned stimulus. I says, we have to give our crew a stimulus package. He says, Billy, we're burning so fast. And Kurt's a bleeding heart, and I'm the mean guy. But I says, Kurt, and we cut everybody a $2,500 check that we let go. And we let go at that time, like 40 something people at the time.
Wow.
And we gave, and the calls we got were amazing, because when you hear that this virus is brutal, it's bad. And it is it is as dangerous and as bad. But at the time, that check, 2 people were on the verge of suicide. One of the guys said, you know something, Kurt called him and said, Kurt, I'm gonna fight with my wife. She left. I've got all my bills in front of me. I'm back drinking and I got a gun on the table. I kill myself for companies and no one ever cares about me.
Wow. Wow.
And then I got this call. So this virus is as bad on the other side that people don't know. We know 2 people in our company that were on that verge. That's 2 people who told us in a small company. So it's like this effect is devastating for lots of people.
Yeah.
So our goal here is we've become where we can go to work because we're putting up the hospitals and the convention centers. We have that equipment. When you turn the television on, you can see those hospitals at the Javits Center. Those are my friends who put them in. They're my competitors. They're my partners. They were my competitors on that one. We didn't win New York, but we're putting them in around the country, Baltimore, Denver, Detroit, and we're still working on more. And we're doing everything to keep this company alive and thinking fast on our feet and working hard. So we got the doors open. You've been here. There's usually 80 people here. Now there's the payroll department, which is now down to 2 or 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 4 other people in the building. And we're just trying to keep business going, get this business. But we're happy when we win these things. It just brings in a little bit of money. You're not pricing them for a lot. Yeah. I listened to your podcast with EJ at the Villa.
Yeah.
And Neil Levine, it's the same thing. When they're doing their takeout and they're coming up. What a great idea! Listening to the Kathy Richards' young daughter. What a talented girl, by the way. She's a super.
Yeah, the whole Richard Callahan family. I mean, they're all hard workers, and when you're working hard and you're trying to find solutions of things. Actually, just before we got on this, I ordered Danny turns 13 tomorrow. He wanted fish and chips from McGuire, so we ordered delivery for his night before his birthday. But that's the amazing thing, and thank you for sharing the story. Actually, you can't see this, but I put a picture of your team, including Kurt and your brother Jimmy and a bunch of other guys that I pulled off the internet. That it looks like, I think it's in Orlando, actually, of all of the places to go. And you're absolutely right with regard to a couple of things. I can remember when you talk about the hours. I can remember working 38 hours and I think it was in a row and in 2004. And I think I shared a little bit of the story with you. And it was when Blackberries disappeared for an IBM show. I mean, and they were $500 a piece. They put 4 in a box and there was like 1,100 boxes. And Tim Mahoney and myself and 2 other guys from Vegas sat and ran tracking numbers, matched them up to make sure that that DHL said they couldn't have duplicated, but they duplicated a bunch, and we ended up finding them. But nobody ever complained about it. It was just work. You just did the work, and that's because you love what you do. And you've built that with the team that you have there, that loyalty and the people that are around you, and the partnership idea is fantastic. That more people should do, because now everybody's got skin in the game together. And now you've pivoted to hospitals. And I'll tell you, I did a little creeping on you over the weekend, because I was like, you are a very think on your feet, figure it out. I think in one of the other challenges you had, I don't know if it was Y2K or the recession or something, 9/11 or something happened, that you went into the grocery store shelf business. It seems like every time there's a blip in the screen or a downfall or something with your core business, you start up something else to offset it, and then it continues to grow and blossom into another one of these businesses. And that's what you've done with the hospital setup. I saw a post that someone put that said, "Hey, we've got access to these hospital rooms or mobile, whatever they were," and you said, "I'll call you in an hour." And I'm sure you called them in 58 minutes. But did you literally just kind of say, "Hey, that's what we're going to do. If we can't put the booths and we can't do the general contract for the trade shows, we're going to do the hospital rooms"? Or was there other things that you thought of, or where'd that come from?
I love that you give me good credit there, and we do get. Well, you had Kurt on. We had a
Yep.
guy lose an eye, and he came up with an incredible invention, and he's
Yep.
still working, and it's an amazing invention. You witnessed. You've been helping him out with it. So we got a lot of people who think on their feet, but this one hit. We're all stunned. We don't know what hit us, and then once you hear the Javits Center is going to be a hospital, now we know we're in play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we were up there bidding it, and that one we didn't do. The whole country's out of metal. But go back to your thought about the blackberries. Think about our industry is always last second in crisis management. Here we are, blackberries. IBM needs those. Like that's their whole show.
Yeah.
They come up missing, and you and Tim Mahoney, who's absolutely the most talented, amazing kid. You guys have to go to work and figure it out and solve it instantly. Else all chaos is gonna. That's how all the trade shows are. So what I'm so proud of our industry because I'm watching graphic companies, I'm watching exhibit houses who build these exhibits, retool, making these face shields like crazy, getting them out. All the other companies and hospitals are building hospitals. And when you look at those convention centers, and I don't mean to, but it's the convention business is turning them into the hospitals. And we turn them in 48 hours. The largest hospital in the world is right now in the country is the Jacob Javits Center with 3,000 beds, and that took 48 hours to do, and that was the trade show industry. On the news, it's the Army Corps of Engineer, and it's the Department of Defense, but it's really the trade show industry.
Trade show industry laborers and designers that you guys lay out the plans and everything, right?
Everything. And it's always chaos. Everything is chaos. You got 24. The clients give you the information the day before, and then you got 48 hours to transform a city into a whole convention.
Yeah.
So we did the largest labor call last year in the history of San Francisco, and there was 48 venues, movie theaters. IBM took it over, the whole city. And we had 54 hours to put it in, every square foot of Jacob Javits, and we had to run 900 men. And literally, we usually run on a big day 80 men in San Francisco, so we had to work with people, find 900. The union only has 300 active people in San Francisco. So that's how fluid we always have to be.
Yeah.
And so when this strikes, they called the trade show industry was, bam, we're at it. I couldn't be any more proud of where I work, but it is what we do every day. We do crisis management every day. That's why we like it, because it's always fluid. You always got to be quick on your feet, So the new businesses that will come out of here is we're cleaning now, and we got we just put in we're cleaning a military base in Puerto Rico. People Sada joined us back. He's amazing skills of accomplishing and getting things done.
Yeah.
And he's put together a cleaning company really quick. And we just bid all the Googles, and this is within 3 weeks. And we bid it the end of last week, all their facilities around the country to do cleaning. And we assume, the cleaning's good. People come back to work. If they're going to be back in offices, they got to clean these on a weekly basis with these, just for peace of mind for all the workers.
Well, that's an enormous industry. Outsourced service cleaning, outsourced remediation for instances like this. I mean, it's an incredible industry, and you've got the skilled laborers that can actually do the work, which a lot of those companies that are actually in the space don't have. They're struggling to get people. So you have the people. Now you need to give them the work, and you're finding it for them, which is amazing.
And we're able to keep our guys busy, although we were really busy on the supermarket side, as you mentioned. That's a company called Teamwork, and it's to keep our laborers busy. And when the virus hit, before they did the shutdown of the country, we were working all our men. So our men got an extra 2-3 weeks worth over everybody else in the country. And right now, and we're going to do it here, we got a dozen guys going up to Springfield, and for a week, starting next week, installing for the cubicles. Never mind, think of it. Now you got to put everyone's going in the supermarket,
right,
and you're seeing the plexi put up, but the cubicles in your office space needs it now too.
Oh, wow.
So everyone's going to put the cubicles in. So we try to think fast on our feet to try to keep these people busy and working.
Yeah.
And, we have a lot of great people there. Kurt came, I'll be honest, Kurt came to us said, Billy, I know you guys working on the cleaning company. I know you're working on more installation ideas and things of that nature, but we got to do something bigger. And Kurt doesn't watch all the news and things of that nature. And now
That's what makes him great.
Yeah, exactly. He says, I can't believe we can't get antibiotics. They all come out of China. And I watch everything. I've been telling I bore them to death. I tell these guys this stuff. He says, we need to do antibiotics. And maybe it sounds crazy, but that's what we do. We're not afraid of throwing out crazy ideas and see if we can do it, but we have a lot of medical. He goes, Billy, we're tight with McKesson, high ups. Let's deal with McKesson and let's make the antibiotics. Pete's saying, I know where to get the pill pressing machine. It's Porsche Industries right in the industrial park. They produce pill machines. So I'm like, all right, good. You stay on that. Pete's got the cleaning company, So.
Well, you know what? It's not to transition it, but to be, I get a lot of. I've been very fortunate to be in great opportunities and have great situations through the course of my career, and a lot of it was foundational, built learning, and a lot of my learning didn't come from a book. It came from learning, hands-on. And a lot of when people talk to me and ask me about, hey, what were some great examples of work ethic, integrity, or where do you get some of these ideas from, or whatever it is. And I always have a couple that I go on, which one is, I can remember one of the first events that I did for you in Boston, and the client was, it was a complex booth. I mean, going back to the early early 90s, there weren't plasma screen TVs and it wasn't technology. I mean, we didn't have, we had big box flip phone things. And I remember one of the clients I were building the booth for, I had this really kind of hard request, and they were missing a bunch of hardware, and it was all their fault. Like, hands down, if anybody was sitting there, you'd say, it's your fault. We can't help you. We can't do anything. But you had a very simple thing, and it was, don't ever tell the customer no. Let's always try to figure out and find out how we can fix that, that challenge. And I can remember driving to, I think, Dorchester to try to find a hardware store to get this very, hard to find hardware to finish this silly box that they wanted to put in the middle of the booth that basically served no purpose, but they wanted it. And but we had to do it, because you always said, don't ever say no to the client. Make sure that whatever it is that we can possibly do, if it's possible, we need to make sure that we make it possible. And the other thing that you do is that integrity of and the care, that is why all these people are standing through and coming up with these ideas. One, that you're open, but the big one that I talked to you about on Sunday, that I've gone over and above telling people, and I actually have a make gratitude your attitude wall in my closet. When I'm feeling down and out, I open it up, and it's a corkboard with thank you cards. You always made us, we were laborers. We built booths. We didn't, we got dirty. We didn't have a pen and a paper that we worked with unless we were drawing a plan. But you always told us that we had to write a thank you card and put it, tented on the table so that the customer always saw it, to show the appreciation of the opportunity that we were given. And that's something that I think that you instill. I know you still instill it today in everybody, and you instill it in yourself. And those are some things that carry throughout all of this process, right? So that's like kind of how you're doing a lot of these things, are those core foundational values and why you do what you do. And it could have been very easy. And I'll be honest with you, when all this stuff hit, some of the first people I thought of were you guys, because I knew this was going to hit you hard, because I'm in the public speaking world. I'm in the trade show world as getting up on stage. And I mean, I had 100 hours. I got home March 12th. I still had my blinders on. March 13th happened, and they started to do the shutdown stuff. And on March 16th, the next 100 hours, I had every event canceled straight through June. And now I'm canceled straight through almost to September. So I thought about you. I worried about you. I reached out to you. But you guys never seem to have missed a beat. I know that it was hard. I know this was a challenge. I can't imagine the layoffs and everything else, but I'm just really so inspired to see that you guys just didn't take what was going on around you as the final answer. And you've got all these creative new ideas. And I think that's something that people can take away from. One of the things we didn't get to touch on too much, we talked about Jay Cass a little bit and some of your other companies. One of the really cool things that I think that's out there right now that I really see a leveraging for the future, even with live events, is virtual events. And you guys have been doing a bit of that for a while, right? Where
Yes. Yeah, we actually, and actually it's kind of funny because we had the AV company going, we have the app company going,
Mhm.
and we in 2008 we started the virtual events because people didn't want to spend the money for trade shows. So we started figuring it out with Jay Cass and Dave McCormick and the team we have. We have some great talented teams. And we've also brought a lot of first technologies into the business because when we were the brand new AV company, we needed to stand out, and we got lucky. We put an ad in the Globe and got a kid, foreigner. He comes
Mhm.
in and he didn't like going into Boston, but he had no problem getting on a plane and traveling anywhere in the world. He would literally fill up a passport and a half a year, and he would just find new technology, just see the basics, and then get on a plane and meet the guy who invented it, and then we
Mhm.
would bring it back to the trade show industry.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first one. We're the first ones that we know of that did any type of 3D mapping,
Yeah.
like the 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 Queen did it for her Diamond Jubilee on the Buckingham Palace. Well, we did it on Kiowa Island on the hotel. Now
Mhm.
3D mapping is it's really fine tuned itself, but it's hard to do a first. But once you do a first,
Yeah.
you got to find a new first because it's now out of the bag. Everybody starts doing it. Started doing virtual, having Jay Cass, a super talent,
Yeah.
and he's an interesting kid because, like you said, Ryan was one of our first lead men,
Yeah.
and he brought in his younger brother, and he's a tech geek,
Yeah.
and he was very good at the Bulls, but he was going to college, and then he got out and he went into gaming school building apps.
Mhm.
That company didn't make it, but then he came back here right when that need was finding its way into the trade show.
Mhm.
So he came back here. So people say you got all these visions. I'm like, oh, well, Jay came back. He's a kid that my father's a school teacher with and told me this is what we should be doing. So I said, great idea. So we're lucky to have, and then, so we have a lot of talented people. We just work really hard in fostering their ideas and letting them run with it because then the people around them say, wait, I have a good idea, but a lot of people are timid from creating them. And we try to foster everybody's idea when they come in. And when someone says you can't do it, we said, no, 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 no. That's a hurdle we need to get over. We
Mhm.
can do it, but let's write that down. That's a hurdle. So we have a very big foster a can-do attitude here. And it's really fun because
Yeah.
it's really fun to watch the ideas and get out of the way and let the people do it because we're old. Like you say in 87, there was no beepers. There was
No.
nothing. There
No.
wasn't computers. So
No. We still use phones with cords, and I think cell phones were 50 cents a minute, and not many people had them. So it was a different world. Phone banks were the way that people communicated when you were at the Heinz Convention Center when I started. Not many people had cell phones. So yeah, it's a different world. Lead generation software and all the different tools and items. It used to be if you were a salesperson, you'd go into a trade show and you'd bring a notebook and a pen, and now you just scan people's badges and it automatically populates and goes over to wherever the heck it goes. I mean, I
and
should
by the way, that's what
anymore.
Jay creates.
Yeah,
Exactly that stuff. So
yeah.
he creates all that. The biggest purchase we made here, $289, 19. It took us a while, 1989, and it
Yeah.
was a fax machine.
Yeah. Yeah, made that funny annoying noise, and yeah, I can remember those.
To
It is,
implement NetSuite.
yeah,
So we're trying to figure that out. And I'm like, I'm still impressed with the fax machine. I couldn't figure out this NetSuite. Thank goodness we have a great team that can figure it out, and they're working on it still as we speak.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So what do you think's gonna? What do you think the world of trade shows and conventions looks like a year from now? The dust settles, everything's semi back to normal. People are wearing free hug T-shirts.
you
Um,
know, that's the big debate at our office. And uh, I got to be honest right now. I don't. There's so many mixed reports. We are
mhm.
watching, and I'm sure you're watching it too because you're in the trade show business. You're affected
Oh yeah.
in a big way. But we're watching a lot of shows rebooked.
Hmm.
And then when I listen to the science on this, I don't. I really think it's 18 months before it's anything where we're back to normal. We're
Hmm.
watching the shows rebook, I don't think they're going to happen, even though they're rebooking. I'm trying to go with. We're ready for them. They rebook. We can ramp back up, but I got to figure out how we can get our people back to work in any aspect possible. And by the way, we did buy a lot of graphics because we produce our own graphics here. So we turned into a graphic company. So we're out there producing any graphics. We got $1,000 order for parking lots for Albertson stores. So, but it was good because we didn't have to lay off our graphic department because now you got all these pickups for the supermarkets. So we're creating the graphics for them. And it's a bonanza. There was 4 more people we didn't have to lay off. So we have a lot of that. So we're looking, okay, we got to expand the graphics. There's going to be need for so much more graphics for these retail environments, the schools. I'm looking at voting. They show Wisconsin on the news voting, and everyone wore a mask. And you go to Oliver Ames High School and you vote, it's the same way. And it's all the old people who are so vulnerable. So we got so much equipment. I'm thinking, Pete, how are we going to, let's create the right voting structure and the voting booths for the votes, So that's what we're doing because I can't see where events and crowded spaces are going to come back that quick.
Right.
Josh, I can't.
No better place to test that out than Nixon Gymnasium.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly, we have right up the street. I'm thinking, in about a week, we're working on other stuff right now. In a week, I'm going to say, hey, can you open up the school? We want to come in and work on designing voting booths for you. And they're going to say, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, those are things that people aren't thinking about right now necessarily. I mean, it's kind of a, when you look back 3 or 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago in particular, 4 weeks ago we were oblivious. 3 weeks ago we were a little bit in this weird state. About 2.5 weeks ago we got to chaos and out of just what do we do, and everything's a knee jerk. Now we're trying to realign and get things in order, but there's such an overwhelming stack of to-do list, and everybody's working from home and social distancing and everything else, and nobody knows the answer, right? Nobody knows that this is 6 days or 6 months, and you could be spot on that it's going to be 18 months. I'm of the belief right now that just the industry itself to realign is going to take probably that 12 to 18 months. I am seeing people rebook and reschedule. My concern is who's going to go out there and go to those events. I think everybody should. I'd love for everybody to, because myself and other public speakers that are friends of mine that I talk to, they're telling me their stories, and I think that I'm in a better spot than a number because many of my events are smaller. So they're more likely, it's not the 50,000, 60,000 attendee, keynote people. Those guys are getting hit because a lot of those events are just afraid to put back on.
And you're not sitting around; you're out hustling. You're out, and from that is an opportunity is going to present itself.
Oh yeah.
Your podcast is growing, and you're staying local, and you're promoting these businesses, things of that nature. You
might not see me get on a plane after this. I might enjoy just being at home doing podcasts, virtual trainings, and speaking. Who knows? I mean, it's been a learning experience. I didn't know how to use Zoom 2 weeks ago, and now I'm doing all of my podcasts and recording on them and doing all this. And you're right, the uptick in listeners and followers and everything is definitely improved a lot. So
I was telling you last week, our company, it's a crazy business. There's a lot of parties. We're parties because we work so hard and we stick together. When your adrenaline lets down, you want to have a drink. So we have a fun company. And this last week they'll do a Zoom happy hour tomorrow, all in their houses, and they'll be drinking and they put pictures of themselves. They're funny. But last week they had 74 company members on the Zoom happy hour, and it wasn't all 74, but I heard it went from 5 at night till 11. So
I mean, people want to, and when you set it up, it sets up all the pictures like a Brady Bunch opening screen, so you can see everybody and they're waving and doing all that stuff. We're going to be doing. There's going to be some of those coming up locally for some local businesses. We'll be sure to keep you in the loop on. I can't give too much away because I'm just talking to people about booking it, but we're going to be doing an after hours for local businesses event next week, actually. So should be pretty cool. Well, let's get some closing thoughts from you. Worldly advice, thoughts, perseverance. How does someone get up every morning and do what you're doing and stay with the optimistic and upbeat attitude and your tone? I mean, if anybody listens to this and doesn't see that you're someone that's absolutely figuring out how to crush it and take care of people, then they're half asleep. How do you do it? Like, what would be a couple of tips, secrets,
Well,
or final thoughts that you have?
it's funny because I wouldn't have said this to you 2 weeks ago. Get up every day, and there's a real lot of need out there to support your podcast on the restaurants and people wanting to support. Work your brain. Nothing nothing is impossible, and work your brain to the positive to figure out how to solve something, anything. These healthcare workers are literally heroes. It's the most unsafe. And imagine getting up every day and getting to go into a war zone and then you can't come home and see your family until you make sure you're safe, and you don't know if you're safe. So there's so many things out there. I saw the lady. You have Easter, you have Mother's Day coming up.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, people are going to send flowers. People are working those restaurants. Everything is local. Everything's a community local. Wake up every day and figure out, what can I do? What can I do? Because it's a great exercise. And don't fall in a bad habit. Go out, do some push-ups or sit-ups, even if you do 3 push-ups or 3 sit-ups. Just stay active. Get up and walk. And take a lot of zinc, because zinc is killing the curve. Social distancing and zinc. You can't find zinc in a store, so I know zinc is a factor. And I've studied it. But it's just get up every day, be positive with the family. I can't tell you how much I love. I'm going to go down. I love that pizza idea. You go home and make your own pizza idea. That story is spectacular. And like you said it to EJ. Leave it to the young, and leave it to the young. Force your kids, force the young to come up with the idea. Teach them how to work their brain, because they have the answers. And they haven't been beaten up by life where they don't think they can do it. So force it. Look, think of the Villa. Think of Neil Levine, what they're doing. They're coming up with an app that goes longer. Because once you activate that brain that you can do it, you're going to come up with amazing ideas. And don't be afraid of a bad idea. I always say it's not a bad idea. It might not be the right idea at this point in time. But all ideas are great ideas, because if you do it in a room with a lot of people, somebody can kick out the part that won't work and add something that how to get through it. So I hate to say it, there's been a lot of fun here because we've been really testing our brain, Josh, and working with Pete. Don't get that way. Don't say no. You're right. You're right. And now Pete's coming up with all these ideas, and you saw what Kurt created. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
So foster everybody around you. Foster their ideas to come up with something. You'll be amazed. You're going to come up with something. And then you're going to have fun with it, and you're going to get out of the depression from it. And that's what everybody has to fight, that depression. You have to get up and be active, but you got to motivate the body and brain. Body at rest stays at rest. Body in motion stays in motion. That's what you need to do right now, because we don't know what's coming next, and we don't know how long it's going to be. So that's what everybody can control, is that aspect.
Yeah. Well, that is some words of wisdom, my friend. That should be, if anybody takes anything away, take that last 2 minutes, because that's amazing. So now let's figure out how people get a hold of you guys, because if anybody is, let's go down the rundown. If you're in the trade show business, you want your booth build out, installed, or dismantled, you got a Amazon or a company that's going to have your own private event, IBM, Fortune 100 companies. I know you work with a whole bunch of those, doing the total general contracting up to 1 million or greater square feet of a trade show floor. I know you do that. You do the tech backbone of it. You're doing the lead generation software. You're doing the mapping. You're doing everything trade show related. You're doing shelving for supermarkets and retail outlets. You're doing deep cleaning for businesses and buildings. and you're doing the hospitals for convention centers, transforming convention centers into hospitals. What's the best way that somebody can learn more, get more, and get a hold of you?
Well, my cell phone's always out there. I'm in town, but we got all the websites, willwork.com, willworkglobalservices.com, for productions, Infomed. But if you call Willwork, that's the best one. We will cipher the business that we'll qualify what department you want and move it that way. You go online and you have Willwork, our phone number, 508-230-3170, and give us a call. There's a lot of local guys locally, and you're heard locally. Nationally, we say no to nothing. We say no to it, and it creates a lot of opportunities. So we're hungry, and we want to put all our people back to work. So give us an opportunity, is what I can tell you.
Absolutely. And that number is 508-230-3170.
Correct.
That's the direct number. And you just say that you listen to the podcast and you don't know which one or all of the above services that you want, and they will put you through to the right place. Mr. Nixon, I can't thank you enough on so many levels. You have been an advocate for my family for 25 plus years. You've been a huge inspiration to me throughout my professional career. You've given me some wonderful opportunities. You kept me gainfully employed once or twice when my dad decided to fire me, and then rehire me the next day. Cheap labor, when you work for your dad, it's easy to let him go and then tell him to come back over dinner. So, but no, I think that a lot of folks that listen to this, that know me professionally, they'll click in and they'll be like, okay, now I see the leadership that I had early on is instilled in me throughout my career. So I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me through these years. And I wish you.
This has been a lot of fun, and I never knew you had such a great voice till I heard you on the podcast. You have an incredible voice for this, so keep going with it. I'm a big supporter, and I think you're doing great stuff, and I'm glad to be part of it. I appreciate it.
I will do that as always. If there's anything I can do, I am always here, but I wish you and the team nothing but success. It's amazing to be able to go in someplace today, especially in the workforce where lots of people don't have a lot of loyalty, and you see people that are still, slinging and working hard. I got to spend some time with Bill there last time I was there. I can remember him teaching me about how to make cold calls back when I started slinging water. So it's great to see that you're doing everything you can for everyone, and keeping yourself out of the hospital yourself, and keeping cool. So I hope to do this again. This was your first podcast. You knocked it out of the park. Congratulations. And that'll do it for this episode of the Be Awesome podcast. I think that we've got a couple. We're going to do one tomorrow. Mr. Nixon talked about those healthcare workers. I've got a friend. He's outside of Easton, but he's doing something amazing. He started a foundation after his wife passed away, Nan Circle of Hope. They were raising money, doing some incredible things. She was a nurse. And so after she passed, they started this Circle of Hope to provide scholarships and support for men and women that want to go into the nursing field. And they've shifted gears. They're going to be raising money to feed the nurses that are in the hospitals here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, make sure people are working their shifts, but also getting their food in. And then I got a couple of new people. We're going to take the weekend off for the Easter and spend some time with family. We're going to come back at it hard on Monday with continued Easton efforts of great people doing amazing things, just like Mr. Nixon's doing here. So in the meantime, likes, follows, shares, comments, all that good stuff. Let people know that we're out here. Let people know that there are people doing great things, and just keep your head down and keep doing what you do. And if you can be anything, be awesome. Talk to you tomorrow.